I thought you were gonna stop. Yeah.
It's okay. We don't fight. There we go. I think so. I think
Transfer the dates.
Okay. Sounds right. Camera does that on you, pounds. So better work on that. It's either orange salad or Mr. Pizza, or where's the fried rice from? Osaka. From where? Okay, good to know.
It's closer. Yeah, it's way closer.
Jim O'Connor is my worst enemy. He tries to get me to go out to lunch with him on a daily basis. All over, and he's a fun guy, so it's hard to say no. So I have to fight it tooth and nail. But oh, sorry, were we recording? Uh-oh. Tim, I love you. You know I love you. All right. Well, welcome everybody. How are you? Good. Happy May. We're already a little over a week into the month. Raise your hand if things are getting busy for you. Outstanding. It's that time of year. We got to do what we can now to make sure that we're prepped for the market that's going to be coming this summer. It's going to be busy, which is good news for everybody, right?
Right.
Okay. I'm going to hit on a couple of key dates here that are in the calendar. If you don't have a copy, you can get one up front on the way out. It's also posted in the Facebook group. You probably got one via email as well. Yesterday was Monday the 8th. We had our second to last bold session. Our very last bold session is going to be the 15th. That's also going to be bold graduation, so it's going to be a good time. Even if you're not in bold, if you want to show up for a graduation to encourage our agents and just congratulate them, feel free. If you show up around 2 or 2:30, you'll probably be able to be there for that. Then after that graduation, we're going to have a happy hour to kind of celebrate. That's going to be at Whistle Beaky South. That's not just open to people that are graduating bold. That's open to anybody. So we'd absolutely love to have you if you want to come hang out. It should be a good time to celebrate everything that the people in that program have accomplished. I'll try to get a recap of all the numbers from the program when it ends, and then share that at the next team meeting, because people have been doing some pretty amazing things in bold. Very, very proud of those guys that are absolutely crushing it right now. Okay. Obviously, the team meeting today, the ALC meeting, will take place in this room right after. Tomorrow, what you need to know about listing documents will be taught by Kelly DeMille. She's a great instructor. She lists a lot of properties. Highly encourage you. That'd be a great class for you to go to. Highly encourage you to attend that class if you can make it. I would also like to recognize Debbie and welcome her to the office. She recently just joined us. Got licensed, maybe last week?
Yeah.
So welcome.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Please be sure to say hi to her after the meeting. Thursday, May 11th. What day is that? That is Red Day. We're super pumped. Katie's going to talk a little bit about what's going to be going on Red Day.
So we are again working at Seasons Hospice on Thursday at 1 o'clock from 1 until 5-ish or until we're done, doing the spring yard cleanup and helping them to set up their outdoor furniture. So please come if you're able. Probably bring gloves, dress to work outside. And then we are looking for somebody to bring a power washer and a leaf blower if you've got either of those tools and are willing
Rick
to.
Babcock has a power washer.
Great. We'll call on him to do that. So it's a great event that we've done. I think Nikki said it's the 11th or 12th year that we've done this for them. So
there is a CMAR class that afternoon, but there might be others going to.
okay.
One of those required. So.
Okay. And then there will be a happy hour at the clerk's house immediately following Red Day.
I almost feel like a cautionary note should be given about happy hours at the clerk's house.
It's hard to get out.
Always a good time, but it goes from happy hour to happy party pretty quick, just so you know. Anything else to touch on with that?
No, geez, no.
Okay.
So let us know if you're able to attend, just so we can kind of have a general idea of how many people will be there.
Yeah. So dress to be outside, and if you're working with the power washer or near it, you might also keep in mind that you might get a little bit wet. If you have red, wear it. Maybe you have some old Red Day shirts. I failed to think ahead to order some this year, so I apologize. But if you have a past one, wear it, or just wear red or Keller Williams stuff in general, and that should be good. On the 16th, we actually have an interesting, good class that's going to be hosted here, business tax strategies, and we've got some some tax professionals that are going to be here. They're going to speak to some tax strategies for us, specific to those that are in the real estate profession. I think toward the end of it, if you want to seek their services, you can, but when you come, it's just a free educational event. They'll teach you a lot of good tax stuff, no expectations.
Do we know who it is?
I forget the name of the company off the top of my head, but they do this for Keller Williams offices all across the country. Then the 17th, what you need to know about buyer documents and purchase agreements will be taught by Kelly from 1 to 2 here in Rochester. On the 18th, new agent orientation will take place from 1 to 2. We'll also have agent tech support that day from 10 to 3. The next team meeting will be the 23rd of May. And that it's also going to be a committee meeting day, or unless your committees decide they want to meet on another day. The 24th, how to get paid fast, dot loop and submission of green sheets with yours truly, Katie, will be here from 1 to 2.
It's an exciting class.
Right. What an endorsement. The 25th, there's going to be a happy hour at the Crooked Pint, which is just 2 seconds from here. It's also going to be agent tech support from 10 to 3 that day. And then just a note, on the 29th, that's Memorial Day. So both CMAR and our office will be closed on Monday, the 29th of May, just so as a heads up. Obviously, you're more than welcome to come here and still work and use the office as needed, but our staff will not be working that day. Any questions on the month of May? Yes, ma'am.
Actually, right after the month of May for June.
Yes.
Are we going back to the 1st and 3rd for the team meeting, or have we changed it back again to the 2nd and 4th?
Would you like to?
I just like it on my calendar and have it be right.
What we're likely going to have is, so this week, the week Memorial Day week, we don't have a team meeting, so likely the week after, the first week of June, probably get there, more than likely, unless there's some crazy change that has to occur. We can plan for it. Sound good?
I actually would like it on the calendar for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I'm almost tempted to change it just to plan it. Yes, sir.
No.
Question about the calendar in general.
Yes.
I remember I used to have it synced with my phone's calendar, and then now it just disappeared, and I don't know how to get back.
Well, what did you do, Sean? I'm just kidding.
Does anybody else have that problem? Mine's still showing up.
Is it? I'd say find us afterward, we can work that out for you. You probably were trying to schedule a hot date or something.
Maybe that's
You checked the wrong box. I'm just teasing, Anna. Katie, anything else from you? Otherwise,
I have one more thing.
go ahead. Why do you do that? I'm gonna mess with this.
As we all know, license renewals is coming up. So if you don't know where you're at,
Kind of a big deal.
It is kind of a big deal. I have a great sheet that you can actually look it up. I get emails throughout the day with people asking me to look it for you, but you can do it on your own. So I did post that to Facebook. And I can give you written instructions. So
Hello,
if you have
Kahlua.
questions on where you're at. Hello. Let us know so that you make sure you're compliant. I'll start to submit those renewals as soon as people are CE compliant. And then you'll probably see, if you're renewing this year, you'll see that on your invoice next year. Questions?
I have a question, Katie. So if I need to renew my license in the state of Minnesota,
Yeah.
what is my cutoff date to have all my CE done by?
June 15th.
Okay. Why?
June 30th.
Yeah. So no, but that's a serious question. So it has to be done according to the state of Minnesota by the 30th, right? So if I finish my CE on the 29th, am I guaranteed that my license is going to be renewed?
No.
Why? Right, because not only that, but the CE provider has a few days before they actually have to generate the transcript that shows that you completed that CE. Then by the time it gets to Katie, even if she submits it on the 29th or the 30th to the state, they may or may not have it hit their system until afterwards. So when we say June 30th, it's not us trying to be sticklers. It's us trying to help you understand how that system works and backwards plan enough so that you meet the thresholds that you need to in order to have your CE hit the state in time to renew your license. Does that make sense? Because if you're like me, a little bit of a procrastinator, You do everything online, like up until midnight, then you try to submit the next day or the day before everything is due. There's no guarantee that if you do, it's gonna work. So if you shoot for that 15th, that's a good deadline, you'll be safe and we'll get everything uploaded to the state in a timely manner. Yes?
I'd like to just share that Kaplan does come down here every fall and we can get 2 full days done.
Cool.
Back to back.
Cool. And don't forget, you can do it online too. You know, if you have time, knock it out online, weekends, evenings, and stuff like that. So, yes.
And do check your transcripts. Whoever's instructing the class puts the credits in there, so we don't have anything to do with actually entering your credits into the Pulse portal. And I have had a couple of times where credits have not made it in there for whatever reason, and they've had to follow up with the instructors.
Can you talk to us a little bit, Katie, about the difference between, hey, you know, some years I need how many hours and some years I need how many hours? What are the two that we kind of need sometimes? How many hours? 15 to 30, right? Some years it's 15, some years it's 30. We can check that by going to Force Portal, right? And then some years, it's can I just do any 15 or any 30 hours that I want to? There are some required modules. Does anybody know what the required modules are this year?
Contracts.
Right, so if I do just 30 hours and submit it, if I didn't do those required modules, is my license going to get renewed?
No.
Absolutely not. So you have to do your 30 hours too, or your 15 hours to include the required modules that are also, you know, the state says you have to do, these are mandated, right?
Fair housing.
Absolutely. So just get 30 or 15 hours and you're like, okay, I'm good, I feel safe. Well, no, you might end up having to do 33 hours if part of your initial 30 weren't those required modules, right? So make sure you're checking that as well.
Why does it switch off from 15 to 30?
Just to get a cumulative of
Yeah.
30, you know,
Every two.
But you gotta do 15 in the first year, because they don't want you doing 30 in one.
Oh, got it. And it'll tell
Really
us that when we
15
go in,
years.
it'll tell us.
Yeah, they really just want to confuse the crap out of you. That's why. Just kidding. But what, hey,
CMAR's having on Thursday, that was required
Right.
class, if anybody has to take it.
so, but when in doubt, call.
Is that the only
Katie,
required one?
CMAR, whoever.
Because I'm,
It will be able to point. Now, so the required modules you can also find online,
Yes.
just so you know.
That day is a required module.
Right.
Extra credit.
Good man. All right, does that help with the CE stuff? Thanks, Katie. Okay, awesome. So what I want to do and what I want to get in the habit of doing, and Megan, this is why I kind of gave you a little bit of a roundabout answer to your question is, what I'd like to get in the habit of doing is every month Keller Williams puts out a red report for the month prior that basically says, hey, as a company, this is what we accomplished last month. And I don't think that video comes out until the second week of every month. So I might, you know, try to have our team meetings align with that, because I feel like there's a lot of relevant information that's shared in the video that you guys can use to leverage in your businesses and when you're talking with other agents and stuff. So I'm going to nail down when they get published. Is it right away at the beginning so our team meetings can have them every month, or do we maybe need to make that adjustment? But it's a great video. We're going to watch it, and then the idea moving forward is our first team meeting of the month every month. We'll start out by seeing this report.
I'm Audie Pavlovich, and this is your Red Report for April 2017. Last month, you got your unfair share and surged ahead of the rest of the industry. In fact, you broke records in every major category of production in the month of March. You made history with the highest numbers ever recorded in our company's history in listings taken volume, and contracts written volume. And because these results happen in the first quarter, when traditionally real estate slows down, you are just getting started. You served more families and gained more market share by focusing on the activities that drive production. You also shored up future business through building new relationships and establishing yourself as the local expert in your community. While these numbers are important, what matters most is what they represent. The opportunity to serve your local market at the highest level and to build a life you've always envisioned for you and your family. All around the world, the Keller Williams family continues to grow, building careers worth having, businesses worth owning, lives worth living, experiences worth giving, and legacies worth leaving. What activities are you leveraging to achieve your goals this month? Share your stories on KW Connect. Thank you, Keller Williams. Until next time.
Okay, so before we dive into the next point of discussion, what are some takeaways from that report that we just watched in that video? Any of those numbers surprise you?
Yeah,
Yeah, what's surprising to you about that?
just overall, you know, every area, it seems that we've really gained a lot of momentum and strength and succeeded to, you know, surpass any other goals of numbers basically from previous years.
Right, because 2016 was a good year. Broke a lot of records in 2016, and we're on pace to pretty much go past them in 2017. But let me ask you this
Surprises
though.
me.
Yeah, but why does it surprise you?
Well, because I know that there's other, you know, we've had a lot of challenges, you know, lack of inventory. It's just like,
Right. To me, when I hear those numbers, it is a little bit surprising because right now that doesn't necessarily feel like what the market's doing, does it? Yeah. Does anybody agree with that? So what are your thoughts on that?
I don't know, you'll have to explain that to us.
I'm curious.
I'm sort of dumbfounded.
No, I'm curious to get your
I
thoughts.
don't know.
You know, what's you know, is there a disconnect, right? Because right now, we know inventory is low, so our listing percentages might be less than they were last year, but somehow we're still doing more business overall, right? To me, the takeaway is the market might seem very, very tough because it is competitive right now for both sellers and buyers. But just because it's tough doesn't mean there's necessarily a shortage of business, right? What we need to do is hone our skills in the way we do business in a way that allows us to win more.
If you look on the report every day, there's always more listings coming.
Yeah, they're out
There's
there.
new listings, they're
Yeah.
there. It's just, we have to get.
Right.
We just have
It's
to
just more
find.
competitive for them. And oh, by the way, I was talking about this with Carly yesterday. She's like, man, it's so frustrating. A couple of years ago, we take on a buyer, you know, we take them out, we show them some houses, we'd write an offer, we might negotiate a little bit. Maybe every once in a while we'd be in multiples. She's like, now it's every single deal.
Yeah.
Every single deal represented by we're in multiples. And not just us versus somebody else, us versus 12 other people, right? That's tough. To win those consistently, you have to hone the skills. And we've done a lot of talk about that, so I'm not going to revisit all that. But doing that implementing into your business is huge. So there's one thing I know last time or a couple times ago we talked a lot about multiple offers and how to win. One thing that we've learned recently that you might help you in your business is we've talked a lot about having that letter from the buyers to the sellers. But my experience has been sometimes those buyers will write a letter, and then whether or not they win that first or that second one, they pretty much just use the same letter over and over again. If you want to take it up a notch, make the letter property specific. We just had a client win one hands down because he wrote kind of a creative, humorous letter, but it was specific to that property, so it spoke to the seller. It wasn't just about us, we're, you know, a great couple, we have a dog, we love your home, you know, blah, blah, blah. It was no pointing this out about the home. I noticed this about the property. This got me super excited about your home. Make it super, super specific. It might be work for them to write a new one every time, but that candid one that you just throw out there with every property might not be enough to set you apart versus people writing it specific to that home and speaking directly to the seller. Okay. Yeah, the market, despite what it might feel like on a daily basis, the market is good. The market is growing. It's huge. There's still a lot of opportunity out there. We just have to hone the skill set to make sure that we're the ones that can take advantage of that opportunity. Any other questions, thoughts, or feedback on that? Not that excited. No. Yes.
I think KW agents are better than we think we are because.
Ooh, I like that statement.
Well, because think about it, if the number of listings was the same, but we were getting more, well, then we're good. But the number of listings are actually shrinking and we're still getting more. So we're better than we think we are.
Right. Well, so let me ask you this too. We might have fewer listings, but what's happening to volume?
The price though.
Yeah, volume.
Yeah.
Fewer listings,
Yeah.
but volume's going up. Well, how does that work? Well, what's happening to home prices, right? Then you have a shortage of inventory, but you have a lot of demand. It spikes home prices pretty crazy. So yeah, listing inventory units wise might be trending a little bit behind where we were, but our volume is through the roof because that continues to goes up.
Well, and I would hope that part of it too is that we have more agents jumping on board with KW, so we have a greater pool of people coming in.
That's what it is. That's what it
I
is
mean,
more
we're
than
still
anything.
growing because the word is getting out that we're a great company, join us, so.
That's what it is more than anything. Yeah. If we've got people continually joining and doing business with us, then our numbers are going to keep going up. But if we're seeing those kind of gains, and some of it comes from agents that are joining us from other companies, what do you think has happened to the numbers at other companies?
They're going down.
Yeah, they're going down pretty significantly, right?
Where do we rank as far as the other companies in the community?
Good
Do you know?
question. So I'll give you overall where Keller Williams stands. Number 1 in agent count in the world. Number 2, barely, in production and units closed. They're projecting that by the time of Mega Camp, we'll be number 1 in all 3 categories.
Oh,
Yeah, in the world, which is huge.
yes.
But so we,
Max has to change all their stuff.
well, but here's what Remax will hone in on though, rightfully so. They'll hone in on we're the number 1 in agent production per agent.
Yeah.
That's what they'll hone in on, which is fine. Everybody's number 1 at something. Everyone's number 1 at something, even if you're number 1 at being last, right?
Yeah.
But it's gonna be.
Locally, where are we, do you know?
I would say locally, we are. It probably goes. It goes Remax, Edina, and then CBB and us are kind of neck and neck. Right.
Really?
Settle down.
We were.
I love the enthusiasm, right?
This is good to know.
It is, and we're making progress. Where was I going with that train of thought? You got me pumped up over there. No, that's okay. So guess what? Our conversations from a corporate standpoint in communicating with Keller Williams Realty International over the last few years have been, what do we do to become number 1, right? But now it's inevitable. We know it's coming. We know it's happening, right? So our conversations aren't so much about that anymore. It's more about, hey, here's the deal. What if you look at hey Tim, how are you? If you look historically, whether it's a sports team, a company, whatever, once they get into that number 1 slot, what do you think historically happens to them? Whether it's a sports team, company, do you think that's the exception, or do you think normally they might get to number 1 and then they? Yeah, that's exactly right, Tom. What happens a lot of time is whether it's a sports team or a company, they get to that number 1 slot and they think we've arrived. Our work here is done. Now we just have to ride the wave and ride the momentum, right? Because it takes a lot of work to get to number 1. Would you agree?
Yes.
And once you're there, it's very tempting to ease off the pedal and celebrate. We're good to go, right? So our conversations are now, how do we make sure that our company and our agents don't necessarily feel like there's nothing left to accomplish anymore because we got here. Now we have to fight tooth and nail to stay there and to keep growing, right? Because when you were previously number 1 and you no longer are, how does that person, that company, or that team react? Do they just give up and say, we're done, we're going to retire? Typically not. They double down, they double their efforts, and they try to make some changes to get back after that spot, right? So the competition is only going to get more fierce, right? When we're looking at the different companies moving forward. So the goal and the key thing for us to do is to keep our foot down on the pedal, keep doing the activities that have gotten us here so that we not only stay in that position, but continue to grow while also in that position. If you drive around town, what do you see where Kmart's used to be? What's happened to JCPenney? What's happening to Sears? Right? What's happened to Blockbuster? Okay, some of that is you're just seeing some business models change. But if I look at Barnes & Noble sometimes, I think to myself, how is that still around? Well, Barnes & Noble made some changes, right? They didn't just say we only do books and that's what we do. They said, holy crap, if we just stick with books, we're going to be out of business pretty quickly, right? So they got into the e-readers and stuff like that. So you can either adapt or you can fall by the wayside and go out of business, right? So the key is how do we continue to keep adapting? And that's what we're going to spend some time focusing on, first with the ALC and then the rest of the offices. What sort of technology stuff is coming down the pipeline that we need to know and understand? Because you're going to hear, I've always been a proponent of saying Keller Williams isn't really a real estate company. It's a what company? It's a training and education company. We just so happen to train and educate people about how to sell real estate. right? Well, now from even the upper echelons of leadership, they're now starting to say, we're a technology company. That's the direction that we want to go, which I think is pretty interesting. It's kind of cool, right? Technology can definitely make selling real estate easier. It can help scale how much real estate you want to sell. It can lead to better interactions with your clientele and better customer service and experience. So understanding what kind of company we are and how we leverage the strengths of that company in our real estate businesses is going to be what kind of sets us apart moving forward. Because I guarantee there's really no other real estate company out there that's talking about how they're a technology company. Right? So anyway, other thoughts or questions? That's a good discussion. Nothing? Okay. So what I'd like to take a little bit of time to do now is to talk about understanding the DISC. Do you need me to shut off the lights?
Mhm.
Okay. Let me make sure that this PowerPoint is broadcasting on the video.
Zach, before you start that, could you tell people what the ALC is?
Absolutely. ALC is a bunch of cranky people that I meet with.
They just have meetings.
I'm just kidding. Yeah. The ALC stands for Agent Leadership Council, and there are agents in the office who, they run successful businesses. They volunteer their time to help better the office, and they help lead some committees, the growth committee, the social committee, etc., technology committee. And what we do is we meet on a regular basis to talk about, number one, how can we grow and improve their businesses, and then how can we also grow and improve our office. So that's what the ALC is. And we have committee meetings once a month. Excuse me, we have an ALC meeting once a month, and they have their committee meetings monthly as well. Bless you, sir. We also talk about and discuss office policy and decide whether or not we want to pass or maybe not pass certain office policies or tweak them or change them, things of that nature. So it's a great group of folks, very influential and much needed in the office.
And anyone can join a committee.
Anybody can join a committee, absolutely. And anybody can attend the ALC meetings too. But it's just a difference between those who are actively participating and those who are kind of observing or watching. Okay. So one of the things that I've identified that we can do, that I can do better for the office, is to help us understand some of the different tools that we have here at Keller Williams. One of them is called the DISC assessment. It's actually not a tool specific to Keller Williams, but it's a tool that we utilize quite a bit to help us understand different personality types and behavior styles. Okay, very helpful, really, in two different ways for you. Okay, number one, well, maybe three different ways. Number one, to take it to know a little bit more about yourself, understand where you come from and how you operate. The next best capacity for you would be to then take this knowledge and apply it to the conversations and interactions you have with clients to better understand how they react, how they think, what their behavioral styles are, and how that relates to you and how you might choose to do business with them. And the third would be, if you ever decide that you're going to grow and hire somebody or bring somebody onto your team, understanding their DISC profile, how they work and how they operate, and what you might need in a person that you're hiring, depending upon that position, to see if they might gel to that position or not, right? Because if you're going to hire somebody to go out there and be a super salesperson, well, their personality type may be different from a person that you hire whose job is to do all the administrative stuff. Right? It might vary, right? It might be very, very different, okay? It's the same when you're going to work with clients. If I can tell that in conversation that I'm going to meet with the seller who is very to the point, kind of short, let's get down to business, versus a seller who wants all the information in the world out there, might you choose to interact with them differently? Might you prepare for those meetings differently? Absolutely. So we'll talk a little bit about the DISC to give us some base foundational knowledge about how it works, and then I'll leave it to you guys to decide how you think you can best potentially implement it and use it in your businesses. Okay? Any questions before we dive in? Okay. Golden rule versus the platinum rule. That'll kind of come out in our discussions here. Okay, so what's your behavioral style? Before we can understand others, we first need to understand ourselves. So what does the DISC say about you? How many of you have taken the actual DISC profile already? Awesome. If you haven't, don't worry about it. Not a big deal. What we can do is provide you with the link so that you can take it yourselves and kind of get an understanding of how you maybe behave, right? So understanding yourself and reading your profile is super helpful to then understanding how you can maybe better relate to other people or have better conversations with them, okay? There are kind of two, if we had to categorically just draw a line in the sand and divide people into two different categories regarding outgoing versus reserved. These are kind of the characteristic traits that we see with each. Okay, outgoing, go-getter, fast-paced, optimistic, energetic, very involved, positive, enthusiastic. When I think of somebody in our office who's outgoing, I think of Michelle Babcock, right? She is that to a T. That's Michelle. Even to her clothing that she chooses to wear, right? Reserved, slower paced, cautious, concerned, reluctant, critical thinking, discerning, okay? Of the two, outgoing versus reserved, what do you think our profession naturally draws in more than the other? Yeah, we draw in a lot of outgoing people just naturally, right? We don't have a lot of calculated critical thinking. No, it's not a bad thing, all right? People that are necessarily driven to real estate, okay? A lot of it has to do with this, right? What about real estate would maybe turn off somebody who's kind of cautious or reserved? We're commission-based. We're commission-based, which can lead to some unpredictability, right? But that's not to say we don't have some of these people. Actually, we've got a lot of agents that are very, very good because these are some of their strengths, right? But when you're meeting with clients, so here's an interesting thought. I can't remember the statistic off the top of my head, but when we look at outgoing people versus reserved people in the world, which do you think we have more of? Way more reserved people in the world than there are outgoing, right? So that means when you're doing your business, what kind of folks are you more likely to encounter? You're going to have a fair number of people that are pretty reserved, right? So if this is your natural personality and this is their natural personality, we have to understand, okay, how do we best relate? How do we speak to these people, right? Because what's important to me in my enthusiastic, outgoing, fast-paced mind might not be very important to these people and vice versa, right? So how do I zone in on and critically talk about what it is that they're concerned about? Or there goes our very outgoing person right now. How do we talk about what's important to them versus what I think should be important? Questions or thoughts on that? Okay. One of these days that cord is going to get caught on camera for sure. Okay, so another way that we kind of look at and divide the population: task-oriented versus people-oriented. If someone is more task-oriented, they might look at the functions, programs, plans, projects, process, what's the bottom line? Maybe more systems, right? Versus people-oriented. They're worried more about relationships, caring, sharing, emotions, feelings, and friendships, okay? I think you have a little bit more bleed over in some of these for people versus outgoing versus reserved. But there are definitely, like when I think of Katie, our MCA, she's definitely more task-oriented, right? Certainly more task-oriented than I am. Like sometimes I'll ask Katie to do something. I forget I asked her, then she comes in, oh, here it is. Oh, I forgot I asked you to do that. Make sure you do that for me, right? Because she is so task-oriented that like as soon as she is told, hey, we need to get this done, she like filters it away and she will make sure it gets done, right? Probably a weakness of a lot of real estate agents in general in our profession, because that's not our natural calling, right? We just want to get out and do stuff and talk to people and interact, right? So that being said, we've got a lot of people out there that are task-oriented, and if it's a weakness of ours, and we're working with clients, and part of getting a property listed for sale requires several tasks, we got to make sure that we dial in on that and have good communication with our clients. We generally do these things pretty well, right? Our business is relationship-based, my humble opinion. If you want a great, long-lasting, sustainable business, it's going to be relationship-based. Okay, you might not pick up a client based on relationship with them personally, but they were probably referred to you, right? Which means you developed a relationship with someone to at least get that foreign business, right? The majority of our business is going to be relationship-based, so we're already kind of good at this, right? But this is something that we need to keep in mind when interacting with others, and probably just the way that we can strengthen our businesses as well. Okay. So now let's dive into a little bit more of the DISC and what it means and why it's called the DISC, okay? We kind of take the D, the I, the C, and the S and come up with 4 different categories for a majority of the population, right? And we look at what characteristics do they have that predominantly makes them either what we would call a D, an I, an S, or a C, okay? A D is a combination of being both outgoing and task-oriented. They're direct, dominant, demanding, decisive, determined. They are a doer. you might know some D's, and in your mind, you might think they are a mean person, right?
But they're one emotion.
Right? They might seem mean, they might seem pushy, they might seem aggressive. I'm not saying they're bad people, right? But they might come off that way sometimes. They're down to business, they're short and sweet, they're candid, they're blunt. That's somebody who's a high D, okay? An I is also outgoing, but people-oriented, inspiring, influencing, impressionable, interactive, they're interested in people. They are the person that just really is all about just chit-chatting, talking, just getting to know people. Hey, how are you? Oh my God, I love you. What's going on with you? What's going on with your family, right? Sometimes I's get distracted, okay? When you look at the I versus the D, I has much more trouble staying on task than a D does, but an I also probably has maybe a little bit more stronger relationships or interactions with people than a D might. Does that make sense? Questions on those two? Either of you know if you're one of these? How many of you are Ds? High Ds. Okay, how many are high Is? Okay, yeah, we gotta get a lot of high Is in real estate. We get a lot of Is and we get a lot of Ds in real estate. These are the two more enigmas. So let's talk about C's. C's are a little bit more reserved and task-oriented. They're cautious, they're calculating, they're competent, conscientious, contemplative, and careful. When we look at an S, they're reserved but people-oriented, supportive, steady, stable, sweet, status quo, shy. These folks down here, they don't like to be the center of attention, really. They don't like to shake things up. They don't like to cause issues, really. These people they're just very kind people. They're very supportive. These are maybe more so like, if you think of like engineers, right? They're just kind of maybe more contemplative, introspective. They're doing a lot of logical processing in their mind. And these folks here, they're a lot like the I's, only their outgoingness is just scaled back a notch, right? They're not as in your face. They're just, kind of, nice and sweet and stable and steady, right? They like people, but they prefer to be in a supportive role behind the scenes. Does that make sense? Any questions on that?
That test told me I'm a high S.
A high S.
I don't believe it.
Well, I don't either because of this word. No, I'm not.
You're not shy.
I'm just
I
joking.
was just looking for the results, but I need to take it again.
Well, sometimes, yeah, it might not be a bad idea to take it again, right? Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
My S and my I are off the chart.
Are they negative or positive?
No, I'm a 99 on both of them.
Are you?
I am. And another team leader at one time told me it's because I have learned behavior. And you can adapt
All those
to
scripts.
Debbie, I'm an IS as well. So that's interesting. But here's my takeaway, and I know this about myself. There are times when you walk down the hallway and my door is closed. It's not because I hate everybody and I don't want to talk to you. It's because I know if I keep it open, I'm going to talk to you. Right? I know that's what's going to happen. So I have to shut my door to keep myself on task. Yes, sir.
I think it's probably more accurate if you had 2 or 3 leadership development for you.
Sure.
And then invite that to take yourself. And I think we have a way different of who we are ourselves.
Absolutely. It's interesting that you say that because this is kind of one of 2 assessments that Keller Williams uses. The other one we're going to talk about a little bit more this afternoon in detail at the ALC meeting that gets to a little bit of what you said, Casey. I thought you were going to say it's probably more accurate if you take it after 1 or 2 beers.
Yeah.
Which I think could be the case too.
Everyone would be an I.
It would be an I in that case. Yeah. My eye probably gets a little more compounded during happy hours. But anyway, this is important to understand because if we, in our minds, when we're interacting with people, whether it's a phone conversation, we're at a consultation or a listing appointment, whatever, if we can, if we have our knowledge of these 4 different categories and we can discern rather quickly what we think they fit into, what category they fit into, well, then we can speak to the things that are important to them and interact with them in a way that will be helpful, right? Because if I can determine right away that I'm in a meeting with somebody who's a high D, I know I can get to the point, get the information out, be relatively candid, stay on task, and get it done. Quite frankly, if I go on longer than I need to, the person is probably going to be annoyed with me, right? Like, dude, Zach, that's cool. I didn't call this meeting to have you talk 30 minutes about how you're the best realtor in the world. I need to know what the price of my house is and when you're going to get it sold, right? Versus a high I, if I come into that meeting and I'm just trying to get down to business. You're like, well, dude, I don't even know you. I want to know where you're from. What's your life story? Tell me about your family. What's going on in life? How do you feel? Right? That's what they're going to want to do. So you have to make sure that you can kind of speak to the different personality types that you're running into. If you're having a meeting with the C and you think you can just hand wave all the calculations you utilize to come up with the price of their home, you're going to think, who is this person? Right? I want to know. Show me. What are the comps? What they come in at? What they sell for? They're going to need that information to feel comfortable, right? And I might not need that info. The D might not either. Hey, this is what I think you should price your home at. Great. Where's the contract? What's going to happen? Right? The I might say, great. What's the price? Let's get this done so we can go to happy hour. Right? Whereas these guys and even the S's might say a little bit more. Great. How did you arrive at that? How confident are you? Can you share with me the statistics that you utilize to come up with that pricing, etc. Okay. Any questions on this? Okay.
I was wrong on the high I.
Okay, that makes more sense.
That makes more sense.
That makes more sense. I think you're proving Casey's point back there. You can just change it to whatever you want to change it to. Just kidding. So let's talk about the D type a little bit more. Okay, task method, my way. We're going to set challenging goals, basic needs, choices, control, challenge, greatest fear, being taken advantage of. Famous person, the Donald, right? 10% of the population, likes versus dislikes. They like winning. Planning, new ideas, being the boss, results, to move fast, to be challenged. They dislike indecision, lazy people, details, tasking orders, or slow people, right?
I don't even need to take the test.
She's like, Zach, hurry up, let's get this meeting done. Right? But this is important, right? Because if you're not naturally a D and you're meeting with one, you might need to know, hey, I got to keep this meeting going. I need to give them yes or no answers, right? Like Megan was probably driven nuts when I gave her the answer about team meeting dates. Like, oh, well, we'll see. We'll see. Right? She's like, what was her response? No, dude, I want them for the rest of the year. Right? That's a difference. And if we're having a client and realtor meeting, that probably would not have went well, right? So I have to understand that. Control factors. Under control. They might be seen as courageous. They're often quick to respond. They're goal and results oriented, deliberate. They're self-confident. They're direct, self-reliant, straightforward, and competitive. Okay. Sometimes they can be also seen as reckless, rude and impatient, pushy, conceited, offensive, arrogant, abrasive, ruthless, and sometimes dictatorial, meaning it's my way or the highway. Right? It needs to be done this way. There's no reckoning with me. We can't have a discussion about it. Either do it or we're done. Right? So you have to keep that in mind when you're having conversations with those folks. And honestly, it's helpful for me too. Like when we, from the office standpoint, I kind of know how people act, and I'll keep that in mind when we're having conversations, right? Or we're talking about your business or how you can approach something. So it's important to know and understand. Questions on that one? Great. The I type. Instead of my way, we're gonna do it the fun way. They're way more focused on the short term in general. They love recognition and approval. Their greatest fear is rejection. Okay. They like to be liked. If someone doesn't like them, or if they feel as if someone doesn't like them or someone has a problem with them, that's really going to bug an I a lot. They might not come out and say it, but they're going to think about it. It's going to put them down in the dumps a little bit. They like to be liked. Okay. They love expressing ideas, being part of the group. They love social activities. That's why Nikki is a part of the social committee, right? And they love recognition. Okay. And this is super helpful for me to remember sometimes. I often forget to recognize people for doing a job well done, right? And it's so easy to do, and I's love it. And oftentimes that works with clients as well. If a client sends you a referral or something, or they had a home anniversary, or recognize them. Hey, thank you so much. Give them a phone call. Hey, I appreciate it so much that you thought to put us in touch with so-and-so. That's really, really appreciated. Thank you so much for supporting our business. Or, hey, congratulations on the 1 year, 2 year, 5 year anniversary on your home. That's awesome. Congratulations. Very, very cool. Okay, dislikes. They don't like being ignored, being isolated, being ridiculed. I don't think anybody likes being ridiculed. They're not a fan of repetitive tasks, detailed work, or long-term projects. Okay. So in essence, their attention span may not be the longest. Right? That's kind of a high, hey, you know, let's talk about this and move on to the next thing. And then, oh, wait a minute, what? We have to read an entire book? I'm out. That might not be their style. They're often optimistic, persuasive, excited, communicative, spontaneous, outgoing, talkative, involved, imaginative, warm, and friendly. Right? These are sometimes often what you might call the life of the party. Right? They're just getting around talking to everybody. Okay. But sometimes the cons of that are they're often, because they're so optimistic, they might be unrealistic about what can be accomplished, or they're going to overestimate what they think can be done or be achieved at times, right? They can be manipulative, emotional, gossipy, impulsive, unfocused, excitable, directionless, daydreaming, and purposeless, right? Now, again, this is super helpful to know about yourself because you may or may not struggle or have weaknesses in these areas depending upon what type you are. When I look at this, I know for sure that one of my weaknesses is procrastinating. So I just want to go talk and do and chit chat and have fun, right? And I'm focused more on the short term rather than the long term. When I was in college, all of my papers were written the night before, usually the morning of, right? Like I'd start at like 11, go into like 1 or 2 in the morning, and then like my paper was turned in that same day because I would procrastinate the crap out of it, right? And I'd always tell myself, I'm going to get on this one, I'm going to do it weeks in advance. No, it never happened that way, right? It's how I am. So I know that I need to stay on task more, and it certainly aligns exactly with that, right? Because if we can go to happy hour, that means I can do this later. Okay, the S type. We might want to do things the easy way. We're evenly paced. They need appreciation, security. Their greatest fear is change. I am an IS. That's what I am naturally. Likes. They love teamwork. They love harmony, predictability. They may like the status quo because they have a fear of change. They like cooperation. They like sticking with what works. All right. We don't like conflict. Right? We don't like it when other people are in conflict. We don't like it when we're in conflict with somebody else. It's just we don't like that, right? Dislikes, insensitivity, misunderstanding, being yelled at. Again, I don't know who does enjoy being yelled at. They may not like surprises, and they certainly don't like being pushed. All right? This is a big one to know and understand. If you can pick up on that you're meeting with an S, and you're having a meeting with them, or you're talking about listing their property, you're helping to buy a property, you're trying to come up with a purchase agreement, you have to be conscientious of not letting them feel like they're being pushed, right? Help them make the decision. They probably just need more information and more education so that they can make the decision. If they feel like you're being pushy, they're not going to want to deal with you, right? They don't like to be pressured. Famous person, Jimmy Carter, right? May or may not, who was the famous person on the last one?
Kim Kardashian.
Oh my Lord. I disagree.
Thanks, but no thanks.
Right. I gotta edit this PowerPoint. They're often relaxed, reliable, cooperative, stable, a good listener, single-minded, steadfast, soft-hearted, systematic, amiable. A word that often gets used to describe me is easygoing. Right? That's a good way to look at it. An S is somebody who's pretty easygoing, right? It might take a lot to get them worked up. They're not too crazy or in your face. You know, they're relatively steady. They might sometimes lack initiative. Okay, that probably goes hand in hand with being a procrastinator a little bit. They're dependent. Sometimes I don't know what a sucker might mean, but maybe that means you could be
Too trusting.
yeah, maybe too trusting of people. Sometimes indecisive, uncommunicative, inflexible, resistant to change. This is why it is easily manipulated, which relates to that. Slow and or maybe sometimes resentful, right? What I've learned about the S type is oftentimes don't confuse them being quiet for a lack of caring. It usually means they're probably just thinking about what it is. Unlike the D or the I, they didn't just blurt out their response. They weren't just like, no, that's a terrible idea, or yeah, let's do it. They're probably like, you know, they're probably just sitting there. They probably look even a little bit angry. Like, oh my God, what did I just do to make them mad? And you ask them a question, and you realize, no, they were just deep in thought. They're really picking up what you're putting down, or critically thinking about it, right? So that might happen where you're sitting across the table from a client, and you're like, oh my God, I'm bombing this. They are not saying anything to me. This is going terrible. I've got Jim sneaking up behind me. So, how are you, sir? Come on in. Watch out, there's a cord hanging right there, so. But really, you might just need to ask them some questions, because what are I's and D's famous for doing? Just talking at people, just talking and talking. But also sometimes you got to ask questions. That's why a lot of our scripts that we go through, whether it be bold or whatnot, is focused on asking what? Questions, asking good questions to elicit people like this to give you and volunteer that information to you so you understand what they're thinking and what it is they want to accomplish, right? Okay. They want people to be kind. They want you to be patient. They want predictability, understanding, common phrase, whatever you think is best, all right? I would say oftentimes this is what a lot of clients want. They want an agent who is just a kind person that they can trust. It's not going to pressure them. It's going to be patient with them, right? And whatever you think is best, meaning I'm here for your recommendation. That's why I want to hire you, right? So keep some of that in mind. Now we'll talk about the last one here. The C type. They also want to do it my way. Janet Yellen. Who knows who Janet Yellen is? Anybody?
Oh, is this the, woman we just see, or, what is she? Secretary of whatever? I don't know.
So Janet Yellen has a lot to do with interest rates and banking and all that fun stuff. I'd be lying to you if I said I knew her bio. That's who Janet Yellen is. Goal setting, challenging, details, quality, value, greatest fear, criticism. They like to be right. They like clear instructions, planning, established procedures, to know what's expected, finish all the things I don't care about. That's what they care about, right? Clear instructions, I don't care. Just tell me what you want done. I'm going to do it, right? Planning, yeah, I'll come up with a plan as I'm doing it. Established procedures, well, no, I'll figure it out as I go, right? You know, you see how people think differently? Some people, like, this is exact. If I said, hey, we're going to go do an open house, how many of you guys are like, okay, sweet, I got that? Yeah, okay. How many of you are like, okay, oh God, this is going to take 2 days to plan for. I got to prep. I got to get my address. You know what I mean? It's like two different types of people and how they would approach it, right? There's some people like, okay, it's Friday, it's 5 p.m. Why don't we go ahead and schedule an open for tomorrow from 1 to 3? Some people are like, all right, no problem. Other people would be like, heart attack central, right? That can't be done, right? It's just different in how we think. They dislike being criticized. They don't like to make mistakes. They don't like sudden changes, sloppy work, or unpreparedness, right? What they're really good at are being orderly. They're very logical. They're intense. They're curious. They're teachable, cautious. They like to be correct. They're going to ask questions. They're conscientious and they're precise. What did Kim say yesterday? What are the two things people want?
Look good and be right.
To look good and to be right. So I have to keep that in mind when we're interacting with folks. Sometimes they're compulsive, critical, unsociable, nosy, easily offended, fearful, rigid, doubtful, worrisome, or prickly. These are oftentimes people, they're going to ask questions that to a D or an I seem like they're trying to scuttle an idea right away. Okay, why don't we go do this? Well, how would this work? How about this? What about that? Have we considered this? They're not necessarily saying that it can't be done or they're not going to support it. It's just the way their mind works. They're looking for clear instructions. How do we come up with a plan and what procedures are we going to use, right? So if you meet with somebody on an appointment, you're talking about listing their home, there are some people you can just go in there, yep, we're going to do this, this, and this, let's sign the contract and get it done. And other people are like, no, what's going to happen next? And you have to explain to them, here's what's going to happen. This is going to get uploaded. Get showings. The office is going to contact you. A lockbox is going to go on your home. People will visit your home at that time. We want you not to be there, right? Okay, what's going to happen when an offer is accepted? They're going to want you to explain everything and how it's going to go down, right? So some of us might have a tendency to be annoyed or be impatient about that, right? We have to remind ourselves, this is what they need. They need us to be patient right now and explain this to them so they understand what's going on, right? And we already uncovered that a majority of the population are not outgoing, right? So the majority of the population have S and C tendencies, which means they need us to slow down a notch and do some more explaining and not to feel as pressure, right? Questions, thoughts on this? Okay, that's the bulk of understanding the DISC. So now we'll keep going and we'll talk a little bit about how you can apply it to your business. So if you're working with D's or I's, they tend to speak louder, faster. S's and C's are going to be softer, a little bit slower. I and S's tend to show more emotion, and D's and C's are unemotional typically. So an I and an S, we're going to zero in on, why, what's the emotion behind your real estate transaction. And D and C's, they might not care about that as much. Hey, dude, I just need to offload this property and get it done. Okay, cool. That's how we can do it for you. Make your goal with your calls and your meetings, etc., to try and narrow your indicators down to a pair of style. By speed and volume, you can usually narrow it down to just kind of two, because most people are a combination of the two, right?
We're almost finished up.
We kind of already talked about this a little bit. It kind of gives you some sense as to what their homes might look like when you walk into it, if you're looking for clues and hints. I'll share this PowerPoint with you so you can read through some of it as well. But this is a good way to kind of look at them individually. D, fast decision. Important that the negotiation needs to feel like they won. Be direct with them. I's can also be quick decision makers. Overwhelming need to be liked and recognized. Focus on them. An S would need more time to make a decision. When helping an S, focus on security, safety, and family. Once you've gained the trust of an S, you have their loyalty. Honor that trust. That's huge, especially when you're trying to build a repeat referral business. The C will need a lot of information to make a well-informed decision. They will be rushed and would rather make no decision than make a wrong one. Never be vague or guess. Right? If you try to BS a C, you're going to be done with them. If they can tell that you just gave them a BS answer, they're done with you, because they need to know the information they're getting is absolutely so. Okay, I'm going to end it there on the discussion of these. If you are interested in taking a disc for yourself, shoot Katie an email and ask her for the link that we use to send people to, so they can go take the disc. Keep it on file, know it about yourself, and then keep this in mind and study up on it so you can apply it to the different personality and behavior styles you're coming into contact with on a daily basis with your clients and stuff like that to help you speak to them. Any questions or anything on that? All right. Appreciate you guys coming in. Thanks very much. If you hang around, we'll take like a 2 or 3 minute break, and then we'll start the ALC meeting.
This is the company I worked for, they used this, but they named each one a bird.
Oh,
So
really?
the D was an eagle, the I was a peacock, which most everybody was, and then it was the owl and one other bird. I don't remember what that was.
I like that. I'm going to have to look that up. I like that a lot. Thank you.
Sure, but this is a natural style.
Hey, Zach,
Yes.
What's the difference in my results? I have two different graphs, an
Oh,
adaptive
my
style
Lord.
and a natural style.